Yeah, so if you could just introduce yourself.
Yeah, sure. My name's Arsh, large landlord based in Wolverhampton of the West Midlands. Been a HMO landlord ever since, near enough as I was been a small child. My father had a few properties. When I left university, decided to look after these properties and then invest myself as well. Started buying and created HMOs because that's what I knew. We decided to keep on with the DSS sector because that's a sector that we know and we love. We find that we don't really have any problems with it, and hopefully we're going to show you around a few properties, see what you think, and meet some of the characters that live in them.
Awesome. You literally just went through like 5 or 6 of my questions. Brilliant. Could you... So you said you sort of said that you specifically target the benefit sector of HMOs.
Correct.
What do you find to be the financial gains for it, financial positive and negative aspects of it, and also like the human positive and negative aspects of it?
Yeah. Okay. Well, from a financial aspect of it, I mean the wood. From a financial aspect, there's really no difference from us renting to a professional or a benefit tenant. But because we understand the market, we prefer a benefit-led tenant. And not only that, because of the way that their payments are made, it's more of a secured method of payment. It allows our cash flow a lot better. For argument's sake, a professional tenant pays once a month. A benefit tenant gets paid every 2 weeks.
Okay.
So in that respect, not only that, risk to a professional tenant is that if they decide to run off at the first of the month, you just lost 100% of your rent, whereas near enough 85% of the rent is covered from a benefit tenant, from the council or the government.
And so on the sort of human aspect of things, do you find it to be something rewarding, perhaps?
Yes, definitely, because we come across, we help a lot of charities, we help a lot of homeless shelters. People can come to us and say that they need emergency accommodation, and it's been scenarios where it's been 8 o'clock on a Friday evening, charities call us saying that wife's been in a domestic situation with the husband, needs to get out tonight, and we try and place them that evening.
And because you guys, you know, specialise in housing people who would perhaps be not the sort of person that other letting agencies would want to house. Is that right? So,
yeah. Well, we don't stigmatise.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't stigmatise. We believe that the benefit market is a market. It's a large market. There's approximately 6 million people in the UK who are on benefits, and we'd like to think that we try and help a large majority of them. We like to think that there's good in every person that comes to us. If we can't find that good, then unfortunately they're not for us.
Right.
And some of the people that you'll meet, I would like to think that you'll look at them and think, well, you know, to be fair, they are decent people. They were just down on their luck, and that's what we try and help them on. We try and get them. We find them a roof over their head. We give them a roof over their head, and then that's where it all starts from. From there, they can start to better their lives. If they then go out and find work from it, fantastic. Awesome. We don't condone that. There's still benefits for life. Get a roof over your head. Get yourself stable. Move on.
Yeah, no, dude, definitely. And also, I was going to say, you guys boast quite impressive figures in terms of evictions and in terms of getting your rent payments paid on time.
Correct.
Sort of thing. So without going too much into the sort of like business side of things, could you just talk about how your business model works?
Yeah, I mean, what we do is that we're big advocates for using stuff like credit unions, which are, you know, they're a very simpler form of a bank account which tenants, we find that it works well if tenants sign up to. So when a tenant comes to us, they've got to sign up to a credit union as well. There has benefit goes into that account. A tenant then becomes familiar with a credit union. It allows them to also potentially set up a savings account with them for a rainy day. Also helps them to get low cost loans, because the credit unions are set up by governments. They don't charge massive fees, or if any fees. And by using systems like that, we are able to have a 100% rent collection record.
Right. But I mean, just in terms of the guy who came in before, and you sort of knew him by face, by name, you knew the property that he lived in. Do you reckon there's a sort of personal aspect to
There
it?
is, of course. I believe with any business, you've got to remain on the ground floor. It doesn't matter how big you are. You've always got to know who your customers are and what they're about. And you know, I'd like to think that I know a little fact about each of my tenants. Like for argument's sake, one tenant will come to me and says, "Arsh, here's my rent. I'm fishing. So next week or next fortnight when he comes in, I said, how'd you get on? How'd you get on? And he goes, what are you talking about? I said, how'd you get on when you went fishing? And he goes, to be fair, yeah, how did you remember that? And I do. I remember little facts. I like to know tenants' names. I like to know where they live. And, you know, little things like that go a big way because I don't like them to think that they've come in on, they're just another number on our books.
Yeah. And how typical is it for sort of tenants to pop in like that fellow did before? All properties that are local, we ask them to come in and pay their top-ups. Okay. So when we say top-ups, it's the difference between the rent and what the housing benefit pays. So if the rent's £100, council will pay approximately £85. They've got to pay £15 a week or £30 a fortnight. So we ask them if they live within 10 minutes of the office. Thank you, mate.
If they live within 10 minutes of the office, we ask them to pop in once a fortnight. Not only that, it allows us to see the tenants as well, just to make sure A, they haven't absconded, and B, that they're okay. Yeah. And it gives them that opportunity to report any issues if there's ever a problem, which allows us then to log it and get our maintenance guys onto it.
Okay. No,
it's just more reporting. Yeah.
Okay. So, and what does your typical day consist of, Arsh? Like, what sort of? Does it
varies every day. Every day is a different day. Like rather than say someone could call me today and say, "Oh, I've got a problem," and I might need to jump on that. Where a standard day would be, I'd come in, I'd look at who's due that day. I'd probably ask Helen if we know that there's some people that need gentle reminders. Just like send out a text message or just give them a quick phone call saying, "Do you mind coming in?" And then I predominantly always go to West Brom Monday to Friday at 11 o'clock every morning. I go to West Bromwich, which is the big HMO, 23 bed.
Right.
They like that because they like the fact that I'm there. They like the fact that there's a form of authority in the building. And not only that, if there's a problem, you know, we have a laugh and joke. Every day we share a joke with some of the tenants. Just ask them how they're doing, if there's any problems. And then, it allows me to see if there are any issues around the building.
How do you confront a problem? Like, so say, just for example, say if there's two people who perhaps there's a bit of conflict between them, or someone isn't paying their rent. How do you confront that? Is it quite personal, or do you send out letters? Or?
Yeah, well, first of all, I'll get them to. I try and call them, but 9 times out of 10, if a tenant's in rent arrears, they're not going to pick up that phone call.
Yeah.
When I say rent arrears, we don't have rent arrears. When we say rent arrears, we're talking about the small top up between the rent. We know that the council's paying the rent because we've got confirmation of that. So we're talking about the top up, and there will never be in massive arrears. A tenant will only ever be in a maximum about £60 of arrears, which isn't a big amount. But then, if each tenant was to have £60 of arrears, then we've got a lot of tenants.
Yeah.
But luckily for us, we only have a couple that may sometimes say, "Oh, I can't pay this fortnight," or "The bill come out. Would you mind if I double up next fortnight?" And I've got no problem with that, as long as next fortnight they don't try and do it again.
Yeah.
You're only allowed to do it once. And they like that. Next fortnight they say, "Oh, I can't pay the full 60. Can I pay you 30, possibly a tenner off my arrears?" And we'll just do it that way. Try if a tenant's in a massive arrears, which I don't think I've got any. I call them into the office and say, "Well, what can we do? Okay, you've got an issue. Where has the problem start? Where did the problem start? How have we got to where we are today?"
But that's not very typical, you said.
No, it's not. It's not very typical. We don't have tenants with arrears. We don't have tenants with large arrears. They might 30, 60 quid. But that's about it.
So I guess I was just sort of trying to get a sense of what level of interaction you have with your tenants.
Interaction-wise, we like to think that we're approachable and we're personable. So that if there's an issue, we say, "Okay, you can't afford 30 quid a fortnight. Let's have a look at what your outgoings are. What's your incomings and what's your outgoings? Is there another avenue that we can try and help you?" Like for argument's sake, the government offer a scheme called the DHP, Discretionary Housing Payment.
Okay, I've not heard of that.
Which allows tenants who are struggling to apply for a grant, which helps them with the top up of their rent.
Right.
So, for argument's sake, if they're getting £140 a fortnight, but they're actually spending £160 without even paying their rent, I would say, well, why don't we do this? Why don't we get you in? Let's have a look at your receipts. We need to prove receipts. We need to prove income. We need to prove what your income is. We also need to prove what your outgoing is. Then we'll apply with the tenant to ask the tenant to apply for the DHP from the council, and providing that everything is in accordance, they'll get it, which means that it relieves the pressure off the tenant. The tenants are then not thinking, well, I'm missing another rent payment, I've got a problem. And then before you know it, you've sorted it.
Yeah.
You've looked at a bit of money management, basically. And it takes, all to do that realistically, from the phone call to get the tenant in, it's literally probably an hour's work. So there's not a great deal. And what I say to them is, don't threat. Come in and have a chat. Let's find a solution. Yeah, and that's what we try and do. We try and find a solution. We don't create another problem for the tenant. If the tenant just isn't willing or doesn't want to help themselves, then unfortunately there's not a great deal that we can do. And then only then will we decide that they can't live with us any longer.
Brilliant. I mean, I think